What's cracking? This is the
Hey,
Pre-Chiro podcast. My name is Dr. Ben. Today I have the pleasure to have a conversation with Xavier, current chiropractic student out at Life
thanks,
West, I believe.
yes,
Looking
sir.
like you're wearing a Life West shirt right now.
Yeah,
Thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate you taking the time today. Why don't we just get started by you sharing a little bit about what your background was before chiropractic and a
mhm,
little bit maybe about your upbringing and just who you were and what attracted you to chiropractic? How did you find it?
got it. I'm Xavier Crawford, first generation doctor, first or soon to be doctor, first generation college graduate. I'm from Watts, California, so 5 minutes north of Compton, South Central LA, pretty much. Um, I didn't really know much about chiropractic, honestly. Before this, I was an athletic training student, athletic training major. Did the traditional route, junior college, got my degree, became a certified athletic trainer. But in between the last 2 years of my schooling, when I was pursuing my certification and degree, I met a doctor by the name of Dr. Sean Drake, who was actually a faculty here. During that time, I was working and still do work the Long Beach Mountain Dew Tour, which is a skateboarding event. It's actually an Olympic qualifier now, due to skating being an Olympic sport. So it's a pretty dope experience. And during that time, he kind of saw my passion as far as what I had to offer. Sorry that it's a little loud. Um, but he saw what I had to offer and how much I cared for my patients, and kind of I had this yearning for being able to provide more, as far as care, as far as connection, as far as being able to look in my patient's eyes and not just saying that their career is over because of an injury or anything like that. Being able to have something for them to look forward to. Within that, he kind of stroked my interest as far as being an athletic trainer, being out on the field, the route and the decisions that I would be able to help facilitate in making while being a chiropractor, and being able to assess and really um, being able to really assess the neurology of a person, just on the spot versus having to wait until we send them to doctors and then we run a bunch of medical tests and everything like that. Just really opening my eye towards the true power of the body. Um, and it was within that it was kind of like, it was like, oh shoot, let's let's hear about it, like it was during that time I was in between, going back to PT school, getting my master's in sports psychology, or chiropractic was kind of my last option. We sat there and I legit told him, I was like, hey, you're a chiropractor, if you can sway me, I'm down to look into the school. Never looked into chiropractic, never really knew much, and kind of just him kind of combing that over and kind of painting this picture of how the body works, what we believe in as chiropractors, that the body can just naturally heal itself, and that sometimes we have interferences, which are subluxations, that kind of cause a few problems with the transmission of the forces between the brain and the body, and that shows up as miscommunications or dysfunctions in healing. And
Mm-hmm.
within that, it was kind of like, oh shoot, all right, like this is pretty cool. And within an hour, 2 hours, I'd say tops, he had like the school calling me and everything, because I was fully invested in it. And
Mm-hmm.
since then, it was no looking back, honestly. Like, I was kind of full set on coming to the school. I never really looked into any other schools at the time. It was really like a faith leap for me. I kind of was just relaxing in God, honestly. I was like, well, if this person kind of sold me on it, then I believe that the stock that he came from, that other people believe in it this way as well. And for that, it was kind of like legit. Everybody that I talked to felt the exact same way, had the same kind of energy, that care, that sort of intention of healing for the patient without the use of medicine, without the use of all these other things that we do, just allowing the body to be able to be locked in, communication highway just set, and able to fully heal and see the miraculous works of the body.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, it was just everything with that. It was pretty cool. And so with that, I graduated, came to school, went to Champions Weekend, and that was kind of like the solidifying factor. It was like, do I really want to see myself on campus? Like, can I see myself around the people and everything? This is a new place for me. I've never lived in the Bay Area. I've always lived in Watts, pretty much, as far as at least my adulthood until college and everything like that. But you
Mm.
know, for changing the whole area, it's kind of like, oh shoot. So coming here was, since the topic is looking into race and culture and diaspora, it was a bit jarring coming up here, and seeing mostly white faces and everything like that. I always do kind of find comfort and talk about it pretty often. I'm an ambassador at school, so I'm used to talking to the first quarter students and perspectives and everything like that. And it's comforting to see a lot of flags as soon as you walk down the halls of Likewise. I'm not sure if you've been there, but we bring in a flag for every country, every student whose nationality we have walked through the halls. So it's just completely decked out with just flags from every which way and everything like that. But as far as seeing the representation there, it wasn't much representation. And so for me, it was, I wanted to bring a culture to a place where it seemed didn't have a culture or didn't have much life to it, or at least holding a space for people that were like me to come here and
Mm.
kind of be taken aback by, not seeing anything that looked like them,
Mm.
and so with that, of course, like I said, just relying on faith. I was able to meet a bunch of people who are of like mind. And so me and a couple other students, without really knowing it, kind of rechartered the SAPCA chapter that's here on campus right now.
Mm-hmm.
It was started maybe 10 years ago by Dr. Cheney, Dr. Motley, and a couple other students, and then kind of died out over time. And so we kind of all united with the same mindset of being able to hold that space. And so that's kind of why we started SAPCA back up. And in doing so, we're able to reconnect with that whole APCA coalition and kind of unite those ties and let it grow bigger than what we thought that it could ever be. Because I mean, we were just like, hey, let's have a spot to be able to just, take a breath, breathe, be us,
Yes.
within the Black diaspora. It's like code switching and things like that. It's kind of like, let's have a space where we don't have to do all that. We don't have to have masks. We can be us and communicate chiropractic, natural, but
Mm.
yeah.
Mm. I just want to acknowledge that was a lot. That was a very
I'm
comprehensive
sorry.
overview of your path, and there was so much to unpack there. So if you're a prospective student, listen to that again. Really take in the path that this man had, like the mindset that he had, where he was coming from. See what you can identify with, because I think there was elements to that story that everybody can identify with, regardless of whether they grew up in a place like Watts, in an inner city, in a diverse community, or whether they grew up in maybe a place that was completely different, but they were attracted to athletic training because it was hands-on, because they wanted to work with athletes, because they wanted to help people in a hands-on kind of a way. And you're just describing what I'm hoping we see more and more of in the future, which is that chiropractors show up in these environments where you got students that are looking for that next step.
Yeah.
And you were asking the question, there was a chiropractor there.
Hmm.
And it was just really beautiful. We got Joe saying, "Where's the Delt emoji? Love the power between you two." Hey,
Hey.
but for the prospective student, look, you got to ask the question. You got to be open and willing to see what's in your environment beyond what you've been told is there. So can you just talk a little bit about what that transition was as an athletic trainer, and also coming from where you came from, like going into a chiropractic program? What were some of the surprises that you had? What were some of the challenges you had? But also, what were some of those strengths that you had already developed within yourself that helped you within the context of the program?
Yeah. Some of the things that I came into the program with was definitely a medical mindset, but a hunger for a holistic quality of care. So it was definitely a tug and pull between breaking away from what once was and going into like what we now believe, and what we now see to be true as far as the body being able to heal itself completely and without any interruption, just miraculously, and without limit, within that, definitely with being an athletic trainer and being like a sports doctor, if you will, on the sidelines and everything like that, you do get an appreciation of the anatomy. You do get an appreciation of some of the things that I would say some people grope and grime about now that we learn in our profession, as far as being able to do special tests, being able to speak the medical jargon, being able to assess the neurology in different ways outside of chiropractic, or even take care of the neurology and the system in other ways outside of chiropractic. For me, it's kind of, I believe, we talk about mixers and straights, but I'm a proud mixer. But I believe that if you know what you're doing and you're able to, of course, educate the patient on the difference between the two, um, then your goal is really just to get the patient healthy, right? And so you choose whatever way you want. The term, I mean, or the phrase, I guess there's more than one way to skin a cat. And so for me, it was kind of like being able to pile on all these things of like overall health for the patient. Of course, yes, keep it simple, as few things as possible. But what about those cases where, the few things don't really work? And then it's like, well, do I completely just tell this patient, oh, there's nothing that I can do? Yes, I can refer out, but at least within my wheelhouse, I'm certified in other things and other modalities that are, have the research behind them to kind of help and help the adjustment and help the system integrate what all is going on, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that was kind of one of the things, a couple of the things that were kind of under my wings as far as coming into this program. One thing that I did have to break down was kind of like an ego a bit, coming in thinking, Sean Drake, Dr. Drake kind of talked up my head a little bit, and he was like, yeah, the program will be easy because you already got your athletic training degree. You already know the anatomy, everything like that. But again, medical mindset coming in, it's like there's a lot of roadblocks there, and it's kind of like, yes, you understand the neurology, but there's the possibility that's in there. Even understanding neurology and the anatomy and just the whole work of the system from a different lens, right? We talk about using our chiropractic lens, like using that lens and being able to focus it in on different things and see it from a different perspective versus linearly as we're taught to really see it, and so that was something, being able to sit down and really like relearn everything that I supposedly already knew. But entering in with a beginner's mindset, that's honestly the best advice or the best takeaway that I could have gotten from this whole journey, is constantly having a beginner's mindset.
Mm-hmm. No doubt. If you were a student back in the day, remember your mindset that you had as a college student or as
Hmm.
a athletic trainer, even. What would you say to that younger version of yourself in regards to advice on uh, really just differentiating chiropractic from these other professions that are maybe more in your face, and options
Hmm.
that you look at as being the primary option, and a lot of times chiropractic's looked at as a secondary choice. What would you say to that student that would help them better ask the right questions of themselves or follow the right directions to get them to their truth?
Hmm. Um, I'm having a hard time kind of digesting
I'm
that
sorry.
question. Right?
So,
No, yeah, it's all
no,
good.
no, no. If I was to rephrase it, how
Hmm.
would you help a student differentiate, should I go the chiropractic path versus should I go the physical therapy path?
Okay. Um, for somebody that's dabbling in both, where does your it comes with educating yourself, like with anything else, honestly. As far as, everything has its place under the sun. It isn't, of course, one path or the other path. Yes, there are those two options, but if you're in the healthcare profession, you're looking to provide healthcare for the patient, right? And so it's like, what road do you want to take? Of course, respecting both routes. PTs mostly deal with physical therapy and modalities and things such as that, whereas chiropractors deal with the neurology and using adjustments and things such as that in order to clear the system of interference or subluxations, as we most commonly use. Um, and so with that, it's what do you like to do? How do you like to help? And where is your heart? Because that's really what it's going to be. Some people get into chiropractic and they're like, hey, I really like modalities, and they start doing modalities, and I mean, yes, if that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do, but at least get a degree in it, at least educate yourself and certify yourself in it.
Mm-hmm.
Or even just go the PT route. If that's what you have to do midway, you realize that, so be it. If taking the ego out, I guess, and understanding where you are and what you love to do, where your passion is and how you would like to help, what is the best way for you to help, And like I said, educating yourself. So surrounding yourself with these people, asking them the hard questions. What do the good days look like? What do the tough days look like? What are the days when you sat there and the patient is looking at you and you're looking at them like, I don't know what to do for you, What
Mm-hmm.
are the miracle stories? You have to break through the inertia of, oh yeah, I do the best profession in the world. Yeah, you do. But what does that look like 365 days out of the year? Good, bad, and ugly.
No doubt, no doubt. So, what did you naturally gravitate towards as a student? What's your experience been like in chiropractic school?
My experience has been a roller coaster. Because for me, I kind of set my focus more so on the sciencey side and trying to really grasp everything that was going on. Because kinesthetically, we've done for athletic training, we do joint mobs and everything like that. So I kind of understood how much pressure to apply and everything like that, accommodating resistance, being able to read the body and everything like that. So in the beginning, I kind of turned more towards my weaknesses. I'm a student that my hands know what I'm doing before my brain really does, or being able to articulate it sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was more so about like just trying to build that foundation. Like I said, just breaking down the things that I thought I knew and relearning them. And so that was kind of the thing, that the path that I took. It wasn't until about fifth quarter that I actually started like turning my focus towards adjusting. And no sooner than I did, everything just took off. And it was really just appreciating that, being honest with myself and saying, hey, like, you can be decent at adjusting even though you haven't done it yet, because of the kinesthetic feel and everything like that, and your palpation skills. But let's focus on the hard hitting stuff for right now, and being able to talk tick, being able to articulate what you're doing. Because although that is a good thing at the time, like your hands knowing before you're able to articulate it, people aren't going to pay you or be able to willing to come under service where it's like, let me show you before I tell you. Some people are like, let me tell you before I show you. And if you can deliver both,
Mm-hmm.
you're a magnanimous chiropractor, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that was kind of my experience. Now that I'm going into clinic, it's kind of just tying everything in, really just being able to really like look at everything from different perspectives. I plan to be a chiropractor that services everybody from womb to tomb. So it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of just being able to explain it from when a kid can understand sentences cognitively to somebody that's as old as time.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what I'm working towards at this point.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, so you've got all these gifts now that and these skills that you've developed, and how do you plan to really share them with the community? You're entering in the clinic. What would be the message that you would share to a young person that maybe you meet out in the community that attracts them to see you in the clinic? Or, how are you going to communicate that message that, hey, I'm here for you.
Yeah.
And you obviously mentioned earlier in the conversation that you have a particular interest in meeting the needs of your community, the
Mm-hmm.
community that you grew up in. So, what kind of cultural competence do you have that you can really meet specifically the Black community in a way
Mm-hmm.
that's relevant to them with something that they're very unfamiliar with, like chiropractic?
Yeah, it's about being personable, right? And holding the space. Whenever you enter into any place of your own culture, you're suddenly taken back, right? And it's kind of like a nostalgic kind of feeling. Like, think of your favorite restaurant, think of anywhere, and it automatically, like, the music, the smell, the anything and everything, the atmosphere, the energy is what kind of snaps you back, almost like a grandma's house kind of feeling. Like, these are my roots, not saying that, I'm gonna be playing stereotypical music or anything like that, but I think there is a certain culture and certain feel for the diaspora that I have, that looking at it from a doctoral standpoint isn't demeaning or oppressive or disrespectful to the Black culture. So even just boiling down to having a solid oldies playlist, being able to communicate and being able to hold space for people. As a culture, as Black people, we hold a lot of trauma and we store a lot of trauma. As a Black man, we struggle with being able to communicate.
Mhm.
Being able to hold that space really is something that I strive for as a chiropractor, being able to say that I see you and genuinely have my patient feel that, you know, as we sit across from each other in the meeting room, or wherever have you. That's where I kind of see myself kind of stepping in. Like I said, I grew up in Watts, so I've already created plans towards servicing that community and everything like that, focusing on the Boys and Girls Club, focusing on the sheriff's department, focusing on all the different local aspects, the schools, everything like that, in order to help build my community. You know, I really gravitated towards the whole BJ's Utopia idea, where it's like, you know, if everybody's adjusted, then what a world we'd have, you know, because there is no crime, there is no need for all of these things that subluxations tend to cause as a result, you know, or the effects that subluxations that we see. Um, and so it's little things like that, just being able to hold space. Honestly, that's where my confidence comes in. My confidence as a black man, honestly, in being who I am, knowing who I am, knowing what I stand for and who I stand for, which is pretty much everything, right? Honestly. Of course, with observing perspective and everything like that, and respecting everything around. That's kind of what builds me towards thinking that I can be able to facilitate and hold space for my community. Yeah.
How important do you feel it is? Because obviously chiropractic, less than 3% black, you know, how important is it for our profession to really grow in diversity and to embrace the outreach to really attract more black people into the profession, in recognition that the black community needs the help, probably more than almost any other community, you could make the argument. And I guess I'm just really wanting you to go deep into what the impact could look like if there were more black chiropractors showing up in these communities that really don't have access to healthcare, don't have access to good quality food, don't have the education, that they have all the answers within, that they don't need to be wealthy in order to be healthy, that there's tons of sustainable solutions that they can leverage in their churches, in their barbershops, in their community centers, so to speak. Can you just really vibe on the impact that's possible if we start really bringing chiropractors into the culture?
Man, like I said, it's the story of BJ's Utopia, right? Where you kind of course, it's a fantasy, yeah, that, you know, crime and everything will be alleviated. But if you alleviate the constant struggle that is pain, then I mean, what wonders we would be able to see, right? Having a chiropractor that looks like you, that understands where you come from, that's able to genuinely see you, is powerful beyond means. I mean, we look at our counterparts and everything like that, and yes, chiropractic is a predominantly white profession. And it's like, you look at our counterparts and it's like, mostly you see white chiropractor to white patient. It's like, oh yeah, I understand everything. Ha 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 ha. I wear Dockers too. Yeah, woo. But as far as a black patient going in, or a patient of culture, or a different culture going in to see another clinician of a different culture, it's kind of like, there's this, you know, do you understand what I'm going through? When I put that I have that I'm constantly stressed and I'm constantly have anxiety, do you think that something's wrong? Or is it just like, that is what I'm going through right now? And maybe, you know, just hold space to talk, rather than trying to, you know, ran 36, or, you know, fill out all this paperwork and everything like that. And so being able to have people that look like you, like I said, is insurmountable for me. My goal is to definitely push anybody that even looks my way towards chiropractic into chiropractic, of course, if they want to. But just being able to hold that space. Mentorship definitely in this profession is sometimes far and few between, because of the lack of representation within this profession, right? And so it's kind of one of those things where, yes, we do have to step up. We do have to step into these places. If you're available, if you are able, yes, by all means, be known in your community, because what is it going to hurt? You know, who is it going to hurt that more people know about you as a professional, that more people know about you as a clinician, as a person that's able to correct, detect, and adjust all of the subluxations or whatever's presenting in the body to be able to help and to be able to see um, the patient. You know, like we're the only profession that really gets a kinesthetic feel for our patients, you know, and
Mm-hmm.
just in that is powerful. If you're able to touch somebody that's whose life is always violence, who's always drugs, who's always all these different things, imagine the wonders that, you know, you can be able to turn the tides. You know, some people just want that physical affection, like they're so full of hostility because nobody's ever given them a hug, as small as that may sound, like, and to end your adjustment with just a hug, you know, and
Mm-hmm.
say, oh, I love you as a patient, you know. Of
Mm-hmm.
course, yes, there are like lawsuits or malpractice or whatever have you that can go in, but from a straight platonic place of, you know, I love you as a human being, you know,
Yeah.
I'd show them. Yeah, it's like it's deep, and um to have that come from somebody that looks like you is profound, you know, and we definitely need that with it being 3%, with everything that's constantly going on in the world. Every at this point, every 2 days, somebody is in the news. A person of color is in the news for dying from police brutality or whatever have you. You know, you have to hold these spaces because we look at the 3 T's. We look at thoughts, toxins, and traumas, and all three of those are riddled throughout, you know, the developing communities and things such as that, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I'll just share from experience, being a white guy that grew up in a black neighborhood and was
Hmm.
usually the only white boy at the party, came up, got out of the hood, went to chiropractic school, and now lives in East Oakland and
Hmm.
practices in a very diverse community. I see more than half of my patients are probably black. I could just tell you that it's not only them being able to identify what you look like, but it's also them being able to identify with how you sound, the way you act, your mannerisms. It goes so far beyond identity that is really just being able to relate and know where they come from and knowing the types of backgrounds and experiences that people have, knowing that if somebody comes in and they have a weave, knowing how to work around that and
Hmm.
also not make a big deal out of it, not be uncomfortable about it.
Yeah.
Or if somebody comes in and they got saggy jeans, to
Hmm.
educate them on how that's affecting their pelvic alignment and how that might throw off their brainstem function. You know, if
Hmm.
somebody's wearing a heavy gold chain when they come in, I'm like, you know that that's pulling your head forward. We did talk about this, didn't we?
Yeah.
You know, and so just bringing it into chiropractic is such a
Hmm.
beautiful thing, and people appreciate it. They get it.
Hmm.
Nobody is stupid that lives
Hmm.
in areas that lack affluence or lack education. They get it. There's tons of people that I talk to that don't have a high school diploma, but they get chiropractic in an
Hmm.
instant. It's like what I love about chiropractic is that it transcends language barriers, right? It transcends cultural barriers. You can look at somebody, and if you don't judge them when they come into your practice, they're gonna let their guard down, and that's healing in itself. You know what I mean? So I believe we need to really teach people to be healers, to teach people to recognize, hey, reflect on your traumas, reflect on the adversity that you went through, and really leverage that, use that in your clinical practice, because that's where you get people to get into parasympathetic mode and just kind
Hmm.
of let their breath like relax a little bit,
Yeah.
because people be coming into the chiropractor on edge. You know, the black
Charged.
community
Yeah.
thinks that you're about to break their neck or that they're
Hmm.
scared. That they always be like coming in like, I'm scared to death right now. I'm like,
Yeah.
you don't gotta be scared. Watch what happens today. You know, reflect back. I want you to
Hmm.
really look back on this experience and recognize that chiropractic isn't what you thought it was gonna be. So no, it's great that you are getting the exposures at the school that you chose, and that you also have the type of background that you have, because we really do need a lot more people whose dream it was to become a doctor one day, who might be that first doctor in their family. Look at chiropractic as the primary choice if they want to make impact on their community. And I'm really grateful that you're really planning to go back to Watts and do your thing, because that's where it's needed the most.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, man. I appreciate you for having this and just being able to hold this space to let me ramble on and express myself, man. And even for you for servicing in the community and everything like that. And like you said, just being genuine. That's the biggest thing. I feel like a lot of people are kind of afraid to service in the black community because they're like, oh, what if they don't receive me or anything like that? And it's really just being there and being genuine, gen, genuinicity. I don't know if that's a word, but we'll use it right now. Is a huge thing that everybody can feel, you know, you being solidified in who you are. And that's something that may take, you know, the chiropractor aback because they don't know exactly who they are.
Hmm.
If so, that's your homework, you know. But within knowing yourself, how who you are, and being able to, I wouldn't say insert yourself into the culture or a culture, but just being there for people, being able to wipe away culture and just see people person to person. At the end of the day, that's what we really need. I can respect somebody who doesn't know my culture, but they see me as a person, you know, versus someone who's trying to fit in, trying to utilize all these things and fluff, and that's not who they are. And I can see through that, you know.
Right.
But yeah, but thank you again
Yes.
for having this, for holding this space, for this opportunity, really.
No doubt. So tell me a little bit about your vision for what you plan to do once you get out of school and you go back to your community. How are you going to set up? Are you going to start your own practice? Are you going to look to go into partnership? How are you going to fund the practice? Right? Because a lot of us don't think through, like, how are we going to access the capital that we need in order to buy the equipment that we need, in order to, put those down payments down on whatever is necessary to
Mhm.
serve at the level that we see ourselves serving at. So what's your plans?
Yeah, for me, currently, like I said, I'm kind of developing it. My mom's been kind of kicking me in the butt a little bit about getting it all together, but it's more so about kind of just accepting where I am. You know, I'm confident as a student chiropractor right now, in my adjusting, in my analysis, in my care. But just accepting that there's far more out there to learn. You know, there's far more systems than the systems or bodies that I've seen that constantly seek care. You know, so I definitely want to be able to work under a doctor, and kind of gain some knowledge for a little while also paying off the large amount of student loans that I have, you know. So for right now, my eyes are kind of set on looking into the joint and working there as a chiropractor. I've talked to a couple of the franchise owners, and some of them actually have work to own programs. So my plan first is to kind of take over one of those and build it as a work to own it. Once then, starting my own practice where I'll do my own thing and kind of maintain both practices and kind of grow like that. Get another joint and then grow another practice and kind of be
Mm,
able to shuttle and if patients need more care because the joint has a specific way of adjusting,
mhm.
um, then being able to send them to my practice and take care of them and kind of networking, of course, and being able to network with other chiropractors as well, because it isn't just about locking a patient in. If I realize that, you know, my care isn't as good as what somebody else may need, or if they need a different technique of adjusting that they receive better feedback from, then allowing them to go there and sharing and networking, you know, because that's what grows a profession. That's what, you know, gets more people to know about us rather than it being like, oh, my chiropractor is selfish. No, my chiropractor wants everybody to be able to experience this and be able to see the diversity of what all your body can feel, you know?
Mm, mm. I like it. That's like the corporate route almost. It sounds interesting. It's definitely not something that a prospective student hears. How did you get there to actually think that that might be the best route for you?
Honestly, just sitting up with Sapka. Honestly, we kind of have these talks and sit down discussions with Dr. Blackburn, who you've interviewed. And so we sit down and talk with him, and he kind of helps us to understand, you know, what the next steps might be. He was our business professor when I first came to school, so I hold his advice to very high regard as far as like the way he thinks, the way he operates, and everything like that. So just having conversations with him as well as the Sapka Club, and kind of mulling over that as you take the classes here. They kind of challenge you to think in different ways, meeting with other people. Of course, I'm a person, iron sharpens iron. So I try to surround myself with people that are also like mine and kind of advancing. So even with the fraternity, them talking about, oh, what our plan is, what we're going to do after we get out of practice, is kind of, it kind of gets the wheels turning for yourself as well, you know, even if it is very passive. You look back, you come up with a plan, you know.
Hmm. Yeah, man. Just keep listening to all of the different voices inside your head. It sounds like there's a lot that you're having to piece together and connect the dots on, because you really have exposed yourself to so much. And I just want to acknowledge your hard work, because it's not easy to follow that path of really just want to have your eyes wide open to what's possible, to what people out there that you resonate with, what they're recommending, and like taking that in and mixing it into your own plans and your own values. So, man, thank you for setting a great example and being a good role model for the future generation, pre-chiropractic students. You know, you might want to listen back to this interview. There's some great information that you can just recognize as it's the tip of the iceberg. This is not the whole story. This is just giving you a little glimpse into what Xavier's been going through in his path to become a chiropractor. So I want to thank you so much for taking the time today, man. And, you know, just keep doing your thing, man.
Thank you again, man. You keep doing your thing as well, man. I'm loving everything that you're doing. Thank you.
Most definitely. Absolutely. Yeah, we're going to keep it shining. Shine the light for this next generation, brother, because we got to leave it better than we found it. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm. Definitely, definitely, definitely. Yeah. If you guys want, you guys can follow me on Instagram at Cartier Chiropractic. I believe it's Cartier, like the brand, underscore chiropractic. I'll double check that right now. It's kind of my chiropractic page. I'm kind of trying to grow it. So that would be the only thing for me.
Okay.
But yeah,
Cartier.
Cartier underscore chiropractic.
Say it one more time. I was talking over you. My bad.
Oh yeah, Cartier, Cartier underscore chiropractic. And yeah, that's me.
That's Instagram or Facebook?
Instagram. There is a Facebook page, but I'm kind of currently developing it. Of course, yes, it's all a process.
At a
So be
time.
gentle with me. Yeah,
Yeah,
one step at a time.
no
Yeah.
doubt. Well, thank you, Xavier. Have a good day, brother. Peace to you, man.